Found it. It decided to play my actual video. Fantastic. Yay. All right. Welcome to my stream. Hope you guys stick around. We're going to be continuing on with sentiment analysis. Hope you guys, we're just going to be chilling out, writing some code. I'm also writing a bit of a subreddit for a bit of a Reddit post for the Bridge Conference, which is happening in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks? Yes, 2 weeks. So essentially, it is just going to be a lighter version of Summit, but there's still going to be a few talks that are being basically pulled from Summit into the conference. So you're getting a really high level of quality of cool stuff there. So yeah, hope you guys stick around. Also, obviously, I want to quickly talk about the PowerShell Conference Book Volume 3. So we are currently in the call for papers. So we're looking for anybody who wants to share a story with IT, DevOps, WinOps, or has some sort of echo lag or something. Hang on one sec. 1 sec. Let me see if I can fix that. Let me just do a quick test. 2 seconds. Let me just do a quick test. I'm just going to turn the music off so I don't get. Just do a quick test. Stooge. What is that working? Testing. So I don't get. Just do a quick test. Hello. 1 2 1 2. Testing. So I don't get. Testing. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1. Okay, I think we fixed it. Cool. All right. Hope that's better. Cool. I usually like to have my mic low, but that's just because it's me. I'm very shy. So yeah, PowerShell Conference Book Volume 3, Call for Papers is out. We have extended it a little bit more. But essentially, I said the word essentially. I had actually got some feedback from a talk. I say the word essentially a lot, so I'm going to try not to say that word as much. So we have a lot of content, and if you have a story or anything like that that you want to share, so that can be WinOps, DevOps, PowerShell, IT, any sort of like IT careers, those kinds of things, and you want to actually have a go at writing a chapter, definitely submit a topic. The more topics we have, the better. We had 30 topics on the last video. If I actually have my book in the other room, but my wife's asleep, it's still very early in the morning here in Australia. But essentially, we had 30 chapters, 30 authors. There's like 600 pages worth of content in Volume 2. It is it's actually thicker than this book here. So it's to provide context, it's just as big and it's just as thick. So I would say that there's a definite increase in content. I don't think we're going to go that hard because it was a very big struggle to get that far, to get that book out the door. A lot of hours was worked by all our editors. So we're probably going to go a little bit smaller, but at the same time though, we're still going to try and deliver the same great material that we delivered previously, so in Volume 1 and Volume 2. So if you're definitely interested, give it a go. So, alrighty. Finally, I'm just quickly going through and making sure everything's sweet. I might as well install the update. This is probably going to break everything, but that's fine. I'm just going to can my script. Actually, it kills itself. And then, okay, that's interesting. All right, so other things that's happening is Bridge Conference. So while we're waiting on that, let's go ahead and jump onto Twitter. I feel like this is like an actual meetup. So essentially, Bridge Conference has been announced. I talked to essentially Bridge Conference is a lighter version of the PowerShell Summit. A lot of the talks from the summit have been pulled into Bridge Conference. It's also taken in some other conference topics. So essentially, and now I feel like I know every time I say it, which is a good thing because that's good feedback. So it will start at on April the 30th. The time is currently, I think it's PDT or Eastern Pacific. Where is it? It's April the 30th. It's not technically April 30th for me. And it's going to be a 9-hour stream. So essentially, so it will be covering different topics. So from the beginning, we're going to be opening up with Chris Gardner is going to be giving a talk on Azure AWS versus Azure Functions. Jat Bassar will be giving a talk on debugging. I definitely recommend, if you guys wanting to level up your debugging, give this talk a go. I actually submitted a talk about debugging as well because I do think there's a definite lack of in that skill set, and it will essentially remove your write hosts. out of your script. So I definitely recommend that talk for the more of the junior people. The next one we have is Justin's going to give a talk on PowerShell 7. So that's going to be some interesting stuff. He's just going to talk about new features in 7, which is cool. We're going to have the PowerShell team is going to basically be a panel. So essentially, there will be a whole bunch of it'll be a giant big Q&A session. One second. Once that's done, we'll have the Mr. Pesta owner, I actually can't pronounce his name. We'll actually be talking about Pesta features in 5, so a lot of cool new stuff that's coming in 5. Definitely worth watching that one. We then have Paul is going to be giving a talk about development and life cycle with Chocolatey. Again, definitely like this. These are really, really good talks. Stevie's going to be talking about continuous integrating and CDI/CD pipelining. Very, very good. So essentially, it's going to be obviously breaking down that entire process. So if you actually want to get that in and working, that's going to be a really cool one as well. Another one we're going to be focusing on is then Corey's going to be doing a talk on show command. Corey definitely knows his show command. He wrote an add-on in VS Code all about show command. He did a topic on it in the book, so definitely worth watching that one. And then I'm going to Adam is going to be giving a talk about web testing with Selenium and PowerShell. So this is when you want to actually test endpoints web functionality. So if you need to do like a good example is if you we recently had a project which needed to do Power BI load testing. Selenium is a solution. So this again would be a very interesting talk for those kinds of situations. In the testing lifecycle, I definitely will probably put this in the end-to-end testing category. So if you've got your unit testing, you have your integration testing, and then you have your end-to-end test. So your end-to-end test would be able to actually test, adding an item, from this web, or adding like an element from a text box to this text box, and then clicking OK. So it's those kinds of things that we can do with Selenium, which are really, really cool. So that's really going to be able to add end-to-end testing functionality to your code if you're actually doing that. And then finally, I'm going to be rounding out the actual talk or the summit with just a topic, a story about building IT self-service portal powered by Azure Function app. So this is essentially it's a very cut down talk of what my summit talk was, but I'll be talking about how to build a function, how to build an IT self-service portal with an Azure Function app. It's very demo focused, essentially. We're going to be going through a lot of code. It's going to be a very, very interesting thing to basically see how I set it up, how I got it all working, how it's running. So that essentially is going to then be wrapped up by Adelio. Adelio then will and then we'll wrap all that up, and hopefully next year we have a summit. But if not, I'd expect BridgeConf to be around for some time sooner. So I hope that's going to be that. So anyway, that all aside, let's actually go and write some code. So where were we with our split paragraph? So I've been here for a while. So I have been off for a little while. So we're going to be kind of working out what we needed to fix. And I think the issue that we had was within my code, there was issues with the submission of the form data. We were not getting precise content. So what we can do is let's go to get sentiment. This is not our key. Did I remove it? I thought I didn't. Okay, we need to jump in the portal, and I need to get a APIM key, subscription key. While waiting for that, hopefully I don't have to provision API management. I might have deleted it after I was done because it does cost a lot of money to run in the portal, and even if you're not using it, sentiment analysis. Even if you're not using it, it can be quite expensive. No, actually, I don't think I did because I think it's free. We'll find out. We'll find out. No, I didn't. Great. Let's go add a key. It's free. Everyone can go bananas and just chuck it in there. I don't particularly care. Key. That would have been a terrible dad joke. Anyway, let's just chuck that in there. Like that. Alright, so it's free. You guys can smash it if you want. I don't particularly care. There's no real... I'm not paying for it, so I don't particularly care. Let's go ahead and crack this on. So the next thing I want to do is, we've got our parameters here. I have an invoke REST method, and then I have it commented out. Interesting. Now I'm interested. This feels like an earlier version. Like, honestly, this feels like an earlier version. Let me actually close this. Did I not save my... Get web history, get user. I'm just quickly reading this, and it looks like... This looks like an earlier version. Did get Kraken do something to my Vomit files? Oh man, I'm gonna be so cut if it did. Because I think... Get post content. Are these being used? Okay, that's fine. Yep. Convert to REST body. Yeah, okay. So that's an interesting bug I just found. So my code is there. It's just I don't know what. Oh, okay. So this is okay. So I'm sitting here going, what the hell is going on here? So this is the original script that I wrote, but no. Okay, so we are still up to date. So this is the actual function code itself. You can see it's quite small, and then we're getting sentiment. Now, if I run this, and I went F12 and it went here. So it thinks that's that. So I'm actually just going to rename this and just get rid of the PS1 just so I don't. I need to tell PowerShell that it is not a PowerShell script and do not touch. And then I'm just going to create a folder and say archive. So I do not get confused. Alright, so in here, we've got get sentiment. Sentiment cognitive services. Yeah, that's my key. Oh, Kraken. Sorry, Git Kraken. I run Git Kraken to do all my Git work. So, yeah, when I was going about Kraken, I was thinking maybe Git Kraken did something where it shouldn't have done, and essentially it basically discarded all my changes, and I would have not have been happy. But it didn't. I obviously I wasn't intending it to, so I don't think it would have. It's fairly stable in that sense. I think if it was going to break all those changes, it would have been a human factor, and I would have said discard the changes. But that's all good though. All right, so we're going through the requests. I've got my wait debugger here. Stop. Okay, let's drop a. We're just going to basically breakpoint that there, and then we're going to have take a bit of a look. So let's go and start this. This is also assuming that they haven't Hot Copper haven't actually changed anything in their website, which I don't think they have, so we should be fine in that sense. So we've got Hot Copper. We're just going to take that one. I'm not going to take the previous one because that's a pretty inflammatory, and that needs to be substantiated before it actually they can prove it. Also, they need to prove that. Wait for everything to install. It's just installing a new version of AZ. So how's everyone holding up in the self-isolation? Alrighty, still waiting for install. This might take a little bit of time, but that's fine. I can definitely say working from home, like I work from home all the time, so I'm like, I don't really care about it too much. I would like to visit my friends though, even though I'm very like solitary kind of person. I kind of do miss. You kind of want what you can't have. That's really the thing. Your wish is mine. No fun. Oh yeah, it's not fun, especially if you don't like. Like for me, I don't really care. But having a kid changes that because you got to keep her occupied, and I don't particularly feel comfortable leaving her in front of the TV. So yeah, I do really want to take her for a walk though, and make her do the walking, because then like obviously it tires her out. She gets a good little bit of exercise. She gets to go and point at all the cars, which is a lot of fun for her. Yeah, so. But a lot of other people are playing games and chilling out. I'm like, I've just been ridiculously busy. So, as any of you guys in chat in IT, and obviously, are you guys how's dealing with all the remote workers? I'm doing somewhat. I can't work from home 1 hour or travel. Otherwise, no problem. I prefer to be home. Always stuff to do. Yeah. That's pretty much it, like for me as well. Like I always like to be home. I don't like traveling. Traveling for me is awful. But at the same time though, there's gonna be no one on the actual public transport, so I can't complain. But yeah, so how do you guys handling the obviously all the requests and from an IT perspective? Like I know, like I work in consulting, so I know that we were kind of a little bit disconnected from that sense, but we also get a lot of clients coming to us and saying, hey, we want you to finish our 365 mailbox migrations this week. And so, you know, there's literally just a mad shift in terms of people want to leverage those cloud technologies. Is that started or is it still not running? Oh, it's running. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and test this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start another console. It's going to go invoke REST method, URI. I need that. I'm just going to paste him in there for the time being. Switch this over. At the same time as well, like there's a lot of people that are losing their jobs because of it. So it's obviously going to be something that people are going to. It's quite a stressful time. So yeah, we're definitely feeling for people at the moment. And people basically just, yes, businesses losing income. And one of the industries that I didn't think was going to fail, but I do suspect in Australia, I think Virgin Australia is most likely going to fail. It was actually interesting because, again, if you follow the Hot Copper forums, which I do quite closely, and reading them, obviously they're quite upset about, which is understandable. The government not going to want to bail them out. But the concern that they have to have is the fact that they need billions and billions of dollars for a bailout. And then it comes to Qantas as well, which is our national carrier. It would then technically need a bailout because you can't just bail out one. You're going to need to bail out the entire industry. So there's a lot of people trying to talk. Oops, okay, we got some. Can't find an overload. Okay, what is going there? Okay, 96. Get post content, post URL. Okay, looks like they've changed something. That's fine. So what we're going to do, convert to user post. So what I'm going to do is put a weight debugger in here. We're going to have a look at this response here. Make sure everything's up to scratch, which I don't think it is. If we can't find an overload for convert, it means that they have been publishing updates to their code base. So we might need to go back and make some changes to our code. That's fine. So yeah, I don't think that the PM is going to bail them out, just due to the fact that it's a ridiculous amount of money. And it kind of like, and one thing I've realized is that this is going to be largely dependent on their ability to run their business beforehand. So essentially, if you had a business that was run well, I'm not going to say extremely well, because obviously people can't factor in a pandemic, but depending on their debt to actually, like, their debt to spending, all that kind of stuff, cash flow is going to be a key factor in how that business is going to navigate in the next couple of months. I know that, for example, from a lot of penny stocks and things like that, those businesses are literally just going skeleton staff. Everyone's taken a pay cut to basically keep the business alive, especially when they're trying to actually, they're building on an actual a project, in this instance a mine project. Well, there's your first thing there. There's no data that's actually being returned. So we can see, okay, we've got subject element. Do we have a subject value? Okay, we do. Do we have any responses? Do we have stats? Okay, so we have some content there. That's interesting. So let's actually keep stepping in and seeing what's going on there. Government just prints more digital paper. Value of existing digital paper gets lower. Everyone's happy. Well, short term, eventually more nations are the way of Greece. That's exactly right. Italy right now is going to be in a very interesting state because the fact that they're obviously part of the European Union, and essentially they trade on the euro. So that essentially is going to put Italy in a very precarious situation, whether they're going to go the route of likes of Greece. which essentially would just devalue the dollar, which obviously is going to pull down Germany, pull down the major players, Germany and France, from the euro. So that's going to be a very interesting area to watch. But yeah, it's definitely tragic, put it that way. Okay, so we got an error here. An error. Oh, okay. No, let's not restart it. Oh, I actually just crashed my interactive console. We might as well need to. I'm actually going to need to restart all my PowerShell consoles. Let me just. This is very interesting because we can see that it's actually get post content. So this is the next thing we need to have a look at, is why is that failing there? So let's go have a look at that. Cannot run until existing PowerShell sessions closed. Okay, let's just go ahead and restart this. The problem that I think was going to be the biggest issue here in terms of for governments is the fact that, interestingly enough, the globalism that's really kind of been thrown out there is kind of been thrown out the window, and it's pretty much every government for themselves, which is very, very interesting to watch. And it's actually very interesting, like not talking politics, but just mainly focusing on actual governments themselves. It's very interesting to seeing all types of governments struggling. So it's not something that's, specifically up, down, left, right, in our any sort of kind of type of government. Doesn't matter what it is, everyone's going to be buckling under pressure, and it's just due to the fact that you've got a lot of sick people that basically need hospitalization, and you've got a healthcare system that's designed to cater for a system. It's not designed to cater for a pandemic. It's a bit like, if you have a natural disaster, that's just the same kind of thing. So it's kind of, yeah, it's and obviously all the people dying, which is really, really sad. This is really the thing that kind of, a lot of people obviously are impacted by that. So definitely my thoughts go out to those people and prayers as well. So invoke rest method. Let's go and test this piece of code. So it looks like it's scraping some content here. And obviously it decides to insert I can just do that. So let's have a look at what it's actually doing. Yep, go ahead, run that. Okay, I just want to have a look at this. Okay, so you can see here, we've got something. Obviously, this is a forum. There's a lot of people basically going bananas. I actually found this is it sometimes gets pretty toxic, and I'm just like, mate, honestly, I don't really go much here anymore because of the fact that people are just smashing each other, and I'm like, you've kind of got to like. The problem is people basically think one person's post is the worst in the world, or I'm like, there's actually bigger problems that you need to worry about, like actual people that have money that are actually interested in driving a stock down versus politics. Politics is the least of our concerns right now. I think people's lives are actually a little bit more important. Okay, so you can see that looks good. I'm just going to dump out the full URI because I actually want to just manually browse to it, make sure that it looks fine. Man, I've got a really itchy nose. Okay, so that looks good. So let's keep cracking into it. So we're going to invoke the request, load the HTML. Let's have a look at the message box. Okay, we have a message box. where name is equal to text. I'm just going to shift 11, step out of that. Step out of that. Let's have a look at our content. Okay, so you can see we've got some content there. Scrap that. Apparently clear screen doesn't work. And then we're going to convert it. And this is where the issue was happening, is people that couldn't actually convert. So let's... Okay, so that's our issue here. For some reason, bytes, why can't it convert? Cannot find overload for convert with argument count 2. Okay, so this is our issue here. So let's go have a look at that. That's very interesting that that didn't work. Okay, it's running 6.2.3. This literally worked the last time. Is there any performance difference between .NET C# version of where and where object? Okay, so .NET C#, when you mean where method, or is that what I'm guessing that's what you mean? Or in general with at all .method. Okay, cool. Yes, there is a performance difference between the where method and where object. Now, with where object, there's a couple of flavors of where object that you have. You have the traditional where object script block. I'm just going to quickly open up a new file. So we have collection, where object, script block. That's the old school way that you can do where object. Where object still is really good because obviously a script block is an evaluation. So whatever you want to pass into that, essentially you can return a Boolean value, and then obviously that's determined on whether that object gets passed into the output. What's interesting with the new where object is that essentially you can just basically say val, and then you can pass your condition directly in here. Now, essentially that the newer one, I can't remember the exact definition of what it's called. The new method of doing where object is substantially quicker to script block. However, the quickest out of all of them is the where method. Now you see there's a couple of ways you can do where method. Now the default everyone kind of sees is this where method is the way that they do this. It's essentially it's just saying the first parameter in the script block, the first parameter in the actual method. Now the where method actually has a whole bunch of other parameters that you can actually use, which is really cool. So we can still have our script block like so. I'm just going to quickly convert this into PowerShell so everyone can see it quite nicely. And then you can actually have some other interesting ones. My favorite is split. So essentially what you can do here, I said the word essentially again, is I can split the true items and the false items into their respective collections. So if you need to cut a collection in half with, let's say, you want to do all the users that were successfully logged on in Active Directory and all the users, let's say all the users that aren't locked out and all the users that are locked out for some sort of reporting, so you can get a bit of a count. This is a really cool way of doing it. So you don't have to write multiple where method, or you don't have to write multiple where methods, and you can keep them in the same block. Yeah, do your filtering as far left as possible. Yes. Yes, that's correct. Make sure that your filtering is basic and as easy as possible. Oh, I be damned. That's cool. Sick. Yes, where object aware is actually really cool. So let's quickly. This is 64 where it's very unused, honestly. I usually go to SS64 for this, but you can see here we've got our expression, which essentially is what we had. So that's, just a traditional script block. Our mode, so you can have, we can do, our modes can be, but where are our modes? Where are our modes? Okay, yeah, you got default, first, last, skip until, and split. These are very interesting ones. You can do some very cool things. So you can say, okay, the skip until will say, okay, return, so think of it as if you have, if you've got a list of Active Directory users, return me the list after the very first user. Return the remaining collection from the point of the very first user who was locked out. Don't know why you'd want to do that in that circumstance, but it's a really cool, like there's very, very interesting functionality that you can leverage within here. And definitely recommend you guys checking it out. It's a pretty cool thing. I'm just going to post the link. Are you going to chat? Apparently my chat is not letting me chat, so I'm just going to post it in my actual restream chat. So yeah, all right. Anyway, let's go back to this, and let's have a look at our why this is not working. So system.text.encoding convert. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to grab this code like so. I'm just going to create a new file. We're just going to do this. I'm just going to go hello world like so. Actually, no. What we are going to do to help us articulate what the issue is, I'm going to grab the raw content because that will help me identify. We're actually working with the content. We're not we're not introducing any sort of issues. Okay, so we got that. Let's jump into here. Let's go ahead and stop that. Let's just stop the script. Shut that down. Leave that. Good to go. All right. So what we can do here is I'm just gonna. Okay, it's hung. That's fine. So okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a couple of tests. I'm just going to go bytes. I'm just going to call this string. Like that. Looks like we've got some, I don't know what it's whinging. Oh my god. There we go. And then we're gonna just pass that into here. So let's switch to an older version of PowerShell. Let's have a look at our bytes. Okay, we've got a bytes. Let's actually see if it can convert. Okay, can't find overload. Why can't you find an overload? You were working beforehand. So something's not working right here. That's cool. Your convert function needs 3 items, not 2. System.text.encoding needs 3 items, not 2. Does it? This is the thing that makes it is very interesting. I don't know why I do that every bloody time. Unicode, ASCII, Unicode bytes. I just find this interesting because it was working beforehand. Constructors. System.text.encoding converts a byte array to another encoding type. Encoding, byte. Alright, let's have a look at that one and look at this one. Source encoding, target encoding, bytes to convert. Interesting, okay. I find that issue. I find that a little bit redundant actually. Because essentially, you should know that. It's a type UTF-8. If I've got, actually no it won't because it's just getting a UTF-8 string. Never mind. Okay, so system.text.encoding. Let's see if that plays ball. Alright. I'm very surprised because that actually worked previously, so I'm not entirely sure why. Unless it was because I was running in a different version of PowerShell. I don't have Corona, guys. I just have a baby. Alright, so let's go ahead and then plop that back in. Let's go and drop a weight debugger on that. Go find out all our previous weight debuggers and go comment them out. I kind of want that one still there. That one can go. Let's go ahead and restart our function app. Alright, so now we've hit it. Yep, carry on. Alright, let's go have a look at what it's going to do now. Alright, sweet. Now it's going to do a HTML decode. I actually want to see what it does here to make sure that it's not going to break everything. That ain't cool. I'm just trying to remember, do I convert it back into a text later? Or does it stay as a byte array for the entire duration? Let's find out. I think it's going to be a byte array. Yep, it's a byte array. Okay, cool. We're going to need to convert that back into a string. I'm just gonna... Come on, stop. Oh, I have to kill the farm and host. Alright. Cool. Alright, so... Alright, so let's go have a look back up there. I'm guessing... Oh, okay. I know why this wasn't working. is because basically this was the last thing I did before I jumped off. So if we go convert, I'm just gonna, just want to have a look at get bytes. We need to convert that into a string. Get string. What is it? What's the method? Get bytes. I don't want bytes. It's not going to be. Is it going to be a byte? I think it's going to be bytes. I want it to go from a byte to a string. Search for convert the new byte into a char, and then from a char. Just give me an idea. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay. That's what I forgot. Let's go char. Because you can, PowerShell can directly pass a char into a string. But the question is what's, I want to do it specific. Because the issue I think is going to happen is how, with PowerShell, if you have a character and you're passing it back to a string, what encoding type is it using? So, okay, let's go and jump on reliable DuckDuckGo, and we'll go char to string, C#. Let's see what Stack Overflow says. Go. Okay, yep. Converts the value of the instance to a representative string representation. Oh, okay, we can just use char to string. The specified Unicode. Is this Unicode? Okay, it's Unicode. Cool. If that's the case, we'll just use char to string. Alright, let's test that. I'm just gonna go, if then actually that would be fine, because then we can just cast that directly. If it's Unicode, then PowerShell will probably be defaulting Unicode. Char 46. It's a dot. Yep. Okay, so what we can do here is just construct it quickly. Okay, fastest way to do that. If we're still going to convert a content here. Oh, we don't. We're going to have to just run that. And bring that back. Okay, we can then just quickly do a... Ooh, that's not gonna work. Give it a go. I don't think this is gonna work. Yeah, it's like char, char, char. No, we're not doing that. We actually, I know that there's a formatting command that we can do. Hang on, let me just have a quick look at string formatting. String formatting, PowerShell, SS64. There's always these little cool little things with a format operator. Hex. Can you do char? I don't think you can do char. Okay, it's only hex. Oh, that sucks. I thought it could actually do that. Okay, well, if it doesn't, that's fine. All right, so we can just do something like this then. We can just go char convert to join. Will that work? Yeah, that actually will work. Sorry, you're right. Because I'm casting it as a char. You're right. That I'm casting it, and then I can just convert it. So, yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Cool. Thank you. Cannot convert the. Really? Really? Oh, let's try it. Let's try it as char. Let's see if that works. Okay, nope. It's just. I'll convert to. Try adjust. Okay, I think you're onto something though. The reason why I can't do it is because it's a byte array, which is kind of weird if you think about it. I just wanted to make sure that. Okay, so if that's the case, yeah, I didn't really want to use a for each object. I was kind of like hoping that we didn't have to go down that path, but yeah. There's got to be another way to do it. Like I'm just trying to work out. Actually, I want to see how it's done in C# because it'll be easy to do in C#. C# convert byte array to string. Let's do this because it's obviously going to have a char. What are they going to do? Read bytes. Yep. Depending on which encoding. So system.getString. Well, we can just do that. This charge, ASCII charge, new charge, length, ASCII charge, new charge. Yeah. We can actually just create a new string. Actually, let's try that. I'll just go convert content. That's definitely that. Okay. I remember having this issue before. Interesting. Very interesting. Is it like we know it's UTF-8? That's the case there. You can see it's filled it full of zeros. Interesting. Have a quick look at it again. So you can see every second one's a 0. Which leads me to believe that it's not unique. It's not UTF-8. I'm gonna try some. This is going to be a pain to sort out because sentiment analysis wants a Unicode. Alright, let's consult the internet. Interesting to know though. Okay, we're not looking for that. What am I searching? What am I searching? What am I searching? We have Unicode. So the issue here is the fact that I don't particularly just want to go and rip it out. I want to make sure that it's done properly. So I think what's happening here is we have I've seen this happen before with web endpoints where ultimately if the encoding, when messing around with the encoding, you have issues. So I know there's a way to fix it. I just can't remember what it was. C# indicators. I don't want to remove white space. So you can do a regex replace. Your regex is a negated character class that matches any one characters other than regular space. You're actually looking for a positive character class which matches one of the 3 classes for a new line, character read, question with a regular space. Well, they don't look like regular spaces. They honestly look like, well, let's have a look. Let's see if this plays ball. I honestly don't think that's going to be the case because I think it's an issue with the conversion process. So that's the code there. So let's just go var equals I don't think that's a valid regex, but anyway. No, that, I've got my, it's probably because it's doing it on the string convert. Let's just do it down here. I'm just gonna just quickly flick back to the chat. Cool. I don't think this is going to fix it, because essentially... Oh, it did. That doesn't make sense, though. Because a 0... Like, they're 0. They're not 1, they're not 2. Like... Okay, hang on. Let me actually work this out. So let's go... What's the last one? We've got that and all that. So, all that. Okay, that's a full stop. T-H... A-T. Is 32. What's 32 in Unicode? Unicode... Actually, I can just do it this way. Char 32. That's a space. Okay. That makes sense then. So essentially, okay, that makes perfect sense now. So the Unicode space is 32. I thought it was 0. So that's my big boo-boo. That's cool. All right. So that makes sense. Now, why the hell is this regex working? I'm going to actually go and jump in regex because I actually want to understand this regex. Regex cheat sheet. And let's go and have a look at it. Oh, no, regex tester. That's what I want. And so I can have a bit of an understanding of what's going on here. And we'll just grab those last bit of code. And then I can get an understanding of how this regex works. Okay, 9 matches. Okay, so... Matches the character literally case sensitive. Match a single character present in the set. Matches the character, yep. Matches the character, dirt. Matches the character, dirt. So, okay, so it does a 3, so it's matching 3 of those. With that, literally, global, all matches, don't return after first match, multi-line, causes... Okay. I've never done regex like that before, so I'm like, I want to understand that. A single character, and then we're literally matching. So it's an actual. That's a very interesting. It's a hexadecimal. Cool. All right. So now I understand it. We are good. So let's go back to our code. Troubleshooting code like a boss. So what we can do here is just do this. Chuck that back there. Just gonna put a double parentheses around that. Let's go ahead and restart that. Line for each character return in the regex. Yeah, it's like the thing. Okay, show me the errors. Show me the errors. Okay, yeah, we've got a. What are you whinging about that for? Again, I don't care. Okay, that's fine. Let's carry on. It's not going to break anything. We're fine. Let's hit it and let's see what happens. Actually, all I want to do today is see it actually submit. That's all I want to do. Is it going to play ball? Is it not going to play ball? What's happening in the... Well, it hasn't hooked into the debugger. That's the first thing. It's completely... well, we can see it's invoking the message. It looks like it's having fun there. I'm going to stop the job. Let's go ahead and restart this. Now, if you're going to have a whinge about it, at least still let me debug. Let me debug, alright? Just let me debug. That's all I care about. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Alright, so let's just quickly step. Step. What's my output? Not gonna see it. Let's just have a quick squiz. Okay, I'm doing something wrong there. Let's just add an inline breakpoint. Carry on until we hit wait debugger. That'll work. But regex, that regex looks so sick. Never try to match characters like that. Usually go R and yeah, that's exactly right. I've never done regex like that either. So I'm like, it's the reason why I'm like, it's always good to think. And it's actually a better way of doing replaces. It's much cleaner. That's if you can understand it. So it's probably going to be a comment added before that. Alright, so let's have a look at converted content. Okay, the first thing I want to do is just work out what the hell's this doing. So it's doing that. What's that doing? That's going to break because I've got a additional parentheses. And now I've just hung PowerShell up because it's trying to do something that it shouldn't do. It's probably actually running through the remainder, which it is. Oh no, it's not. Crap. This is the frustrating part. I'm just going to stop the job. Alright, so we need to fix this part here. So let's go ahead and just kind of massage this a bit. So, yep, you can go ahead and leave. I'm going to pretty much grab converted content. That should still exist in this console. Yep, it does. Great. So I can pretty much just work like this. Let's see what this does. F8. So that is not playing ball. Why is that not playing ball? The reason why is because I haven't actually passed it back into a string. So the next thing I actually need to do is pass it into a string. So string new like that. So let's go ahead and rerun that. Let's go ahead and rerun that. And now we're making a bit more progress. Why is it not playing ball there? So let's go have a look at that. Interesting. How did I make that change? That was var. String new bytes. Yep. Why is that not playing ball? It's not playing ball. But it worked over here. It's because I need to make sure bytes contains that. Okay, yeah, go ahead, run that. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? doing something wrong here. What am I doing wrong? Why did it work and now it's not working? What am I doing wrong? So we have a byte array, create a new string. That's our string. Replacing why is that now not playing ball? I'm just going to restart this. Is it because I'm actually in a debug session? Interesting. That is interesting. And a little worrying. Okay. That's 7. Yep, that's normal. So let's go ahead and run that. Let's have a look at var. Okay, that looks great. Let's go run PowerShell 6. I don't have PowerShell 6 installed, but I do. Where's PowerShell? I think. Why then is it not playing ball here? I have a sneaking suspicion it's to do with, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it's still got it pointing to release candidate. I'm just going to see if I still have it installed. I thought I removed it. Let's have a look. And get rid of that. The interesting thing though is if we go ahead and run our function app, I think it's running 6. Where is it? Where is it? PowerShell default version. is it? Where did I put it? I have to go hunt for it now. I think it's in Windows. It's already there. Windows PowerShell. It's not Windows PowerShell, it's PowerShell. Where is it? PowerShell 7. PowerShell 7 preview. Okay, that's that one. 7. That's the one there. Okay, PowerShell default version. Let's grab that path. Copy as path. Paste. There. Save. Perfect. Yeah, no. Oh my god. Anyway, we'll deal with that later. So, let's go ahead and start this bad boy up. Debug anyway. Oh, don't tell me you're gonna. Hang on, let me stop and restart VS Code. And let's have a look at the config. Hopefully, terminal path, terminal shell path. Let's fix that up. What is it? It's the double. That's right. I need to double escape it. Bup and bup. Let's see if that fixes it. Let's go ahead and restart it. Yay! It's working. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and start this thing. I should fix that error. Yep. Yeah, debug anyway. Let's carry on. Alright, first things first, let's actually look at version. 6.2. So it's running an older version of PowerShell. Interestingly enough, this might be what's actually causing issues. So, but before we jump that, let's actually go and test this. Look at that, that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So it works in 7, but it doesn't work in 6. Now I expect that's the reason why is it's probably to do with .NET Core. That's an interesting little tidbit there. That's a very little interesting bit of. I have no idea why that would be the case. If it's a versioning issue, that would definitely confirm that. I'm wondering whether I should just remove all the zeros. I'm just gonna spitball here for a sec, so don't take. I'm just kinda. kind of sussing this out and seeing if this is an easy way of doing it for 7 or for 6, just due to the issues. So let's just say bytes equals to A, bytes is that. Let's go ahead and rerun that. That's crashed. Okay, what we can do here is I'm going to can him. I'm going to go back here, can that. Before we go any further, let me rerun this line. Okay, yep, then let's just go where it's not equal to 0. And then let's run this like so. Oh, whoops. Did I? Ah. And then we go, let's go string is equal to string new A. Let's try that. Oh. Wow, okay. That's interesting. Interesting bug to find. I think that's more PowerShell 6 than 7, so yeah. That's alright though. That's alright. Lesson learned. So what we can do now is let's just go ahead and exit. Let's go ahead and stop. What's the string before the replace? The string is hang on, let me remember. The string was okay. The regex is better. It's a better way of doing it. It's much cleaner because essentially, you're actually doing a better, like you're replacing characters that are you're replacing a whole bunch of characters and removing them. But the issue with just replacing the 0 is the fact that it might actually not. We're going to probably still have issues with the Unicode. So let's give it a go and see what happens. Honestly, I've got not really much to lose right now. So what I might need to do. Let's go ahead and do that. Remove that. Then we can go. I'm just going to try something for a sec. I'm just gonna restart you. I'm just having a thought. Still a value there. I thought I could remove it. Yeah, I think the where's going to be the best method to do this. I was going to look at what I was going to use a where, use a replace. But yeah, convert to Unicode. Alright, let's go ahead and restart this and see what happens. Oh, you weren't done. Yeah, an empty string. Yeah. Man, this is the thing with programming. I think a lot of people kind of don't get kind of caught up with is the fact that while it might take a certain amount of time, it's these unforeseen issues which is basically what eats up a lot of your software development time. And this is the things that actually make it quite difficult to kind of explain to management, hey, this is the issue that we're having. Okay, cool, that looks much better. That looks much better. Alright, so let's go ahead and stop the code there. I'm just going to terminate it through the app. It's just going to have a go. I'm going to wait for that to kind of come back. So that looks way better. Whether it actually sentiment analysis decides that it's acceptable is another thing. So we will have that going for us. So let's go back to find our wait debug. Yep, like there it is. Good. So this is where it's actually sending the job to sentiment analysis. So it does some very funky formatting to actually get it into batch. It batches the jobs. So it's a very interesting way of doing some PowerShell code. So we'll see if this is going to play ball. Will it actually start printing content out? Oh, it'll be here. Okay. We're now scraping. So ripping out all his conversations. It only looks like it's limited to 200, so I've got to fix that query string. But it looks like we're not having any issues here. Oh. This is like the most... I think I've honestly chosen the worst person to run a thread against because it's all politics. Oh well. It'll be interesting to run sentiment analysis against him anyway. Alright, so let's go have a look at our parameters. So essentially what happens here is we've got get sentiment. And what it does is essentially it splits out all the posts into respective messages. So if we just go rest body, and it basically is essentially, this is a dictionary that can be used so that you can have empty messages. Empty messages can't be analyzed by sentiment analysis. So what we can do here is it provides a match to, so this message ID actually corresponds to the index value of the class of that object within that collection. I just lost my wedding ring. Where did I put it? It's down there. All right. So the way that what it does here when it runs, it builds this specific object out, convert to rest body, is that it creates according to the rule set that's defined by sentiment analysis. So the specific rules that it does. Let's go have a quick squiz at those rules. It's not perfect, like it needs work, but it's, you know, it'll do for the time being. Essentially, I said it again. What it does here is it reads the user posts, and if it's higher than the character limit, it'll split the paragraph. Now this function here, split paragraph, is actually really quite cool. What it does is it looks at the message content and then finds the full stop, the closest full stop in the middle of the paragraph, and then cuts it in half. And it can do that recursively until it meets the limit requirements. And then what it does here is then it nearly said it, didn't? It creates it creates those objects to actually to join, or it creates that object so that it can actually batch those separate paragraphs into sentiment analysis. Once it's done that, the size of the request is about 1 meg, which it's not going to ever get that big. And then if the ID is greater than 999, so it can only do 1,000 requests, it will then close it and then create a new one. So what we have is you can have a collection of these items and that are available for batching. So it basically just means that we can batch all our requests out. But anyway, that all aside, let's go back to the code. So where were we? Okay, cool. So if we have a look at the parameters now, you can see we've got our content. Let's just have a look at the body. And you can see it's got 197 and it's built out the batch required to send to sentiment analysis. It looks okay. The interesting thing is whether sentiment analysis thinks it's okay. So let's go ahead and run it. Hey, look at that. We got sentiment. That's a win. So let's actually pass this. That was pretty quick too, to be honest. And let's actually, I'm actually intrigued. So let's have a look at the documents. So you can see here, each of the requests that we posted, that's a negative, that's a positive. And you can see that the level, so that's a really positive. That's actually quite negative. So let's actually have a look at the first one. This is actually like, I'm actually really excited now. We finally got it. So let's have a look at the document scores. So you can see there's some positive remarks in there, but mostly that was negative. So let's have a look at the sentences. Okay. It even tells you where it was negative and neutral. That's really cool. That's really cool. Okay, cool. So now, we need to fix all this. So essentially, I've literally wrote this and then I'm like, yeah, it'll work, but we need to actually debug this. So it's fine. So we've got our sentiment analysis. We need to join the data back up to the user object. REST request user post. Okay. Okay, now I need to kind of think my logic out here and what I was trying to do. We need to join the data back up to the user object, REST request user post, PS custom object, message ID, REST body, documents. So what am I trying to do here? Honestly, I haven't looked at this for a couple of weeks, so I'm trying to like work my head around it. Iterate through each of the items and join them back up to the user post. Okay. Well, that ain't gonna work because it's completely nothing. So I think the first thing I need to do is actually just dump this out. I'm just gonna dump it out to see the dtemp. The reason why I'm doing that is because then I can actually work with the data outside of having the function running. It just makes it a bit easier to test things. So we need to join the data back up to the user object. Okay, so that's not going to work because there's literally nothing there. So I've created an empty object. And I've redefined it. Okay, the reason why I've done that is because I was basically trying to work this out. So what we can do now is let's go ahead and stop the code because this is not going to work. We've got sentiment, which is really cool. Damn, trying out some C# things got lots and got loads of performance. Stuff to learn, gotta learn more C#. No worries, mate. C#, yes. Transitioning to PowerShell C# is actually really good. Or from PowerShell to C#. Like I've spent a bit of time in C#, and yeah, I actually like. It's kind of funny because there's lots of features I love in PowerShell that I don't like in C#, and vice versa. I'm like, well, I wish you could have case-sensitive hash tables versus just hash tables, but you can't. So, but C# is obviously very, strongly typed, where PowerShell is fairly loosely typed. So it's things like that which kind of, yeah, you kind of want this. I want the convenience of PowerShell, but the usefulness of C#, which that's pretty hard to achieve. So anyway, so let's get rid of that. But what we can do now is we can actually mock some data here to kind of work this logic through and massage it out. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we can do here is go REST request user post. I don't think there's going to be anything in there at all. Perfect. All right, so oh shoot, I didn't export this. Looks like we're putting a wait debugger there. And we're gonna have to debug it out in this. because I didn't actually export all this to CliXML. Oh well, all good, all good, all good. All right, let's go ahead and start it. Let's go and plug that in. Forcibly close. Go ahead and run. All right, let's have a look at what is in here. So guys, message IDs. Great. So let's step in. Okay, so now we're on an index of 0. Just check that. Yep, we're an index of 0. You can just see it up there. Cool. Match the current index to the user post index. So this is where we need to actually match to the user post index. How is it doing that? Okay, so that's all these user posts. Okay, so I need to get the index value. So what I'm going to be doing is, because I'm updating values in the in a collection, I don't want to redefine the collection. So I'm going to basically get the index values, find the index values, and then basically update the entry. Anthony, how you going? I'm good, mate. How are you? All right, so let's see if it matches. That always scares the crap out of me. Shift F11. Let's see if we match, which we match to 0. Is that legitimate? Who knows? It would be null if it's not, so I think that's legitimate. Okay, match the results ID against the request ID. They are the same. Documents. Now we know the value, we can update the result. Result.documents, where ID yep, it's the same as the ID of that's an index value. That's not going to work. That's going to return nothing. That's going to return a big old error. But it's not going to return anything because that is wrong. That needs to be there. And then with posts user, that should be like that. Which it didn't return anything. So results.documents with ID. .id. It doesn't have a .documents.id. It has a .id. This is where debugging is really powerful, because ultimately I can go, yep, and I'm not kind of stuck with right hosting everything out. Let's have a look at that. Okay, there we go. So now we've matched the sentiment ID to the user post ID, and now we can add it. So let's, I'm just going to step in, step O. It's going to return an error because remember that's the old code. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that in. And then that's going to essentially rerun that line, so we're not having to deal with that. And we're going to have that, and then we should be able to add our sentiment result to that. So let's try that. Does that work? Okay, we cannot call a method on a null valued expression. Okay, so let's have a look at why. Can we get that? Yes. Can we get that? Yes. Do we have this? The collection was of a fixed size. Okay, so this is the good part. So now that's all done. That's fixed. So the issue is with how we've declared our class. So we've got a systems.generic.list user post. Let's go have a look at posts. User posts. System.generic.list.object. So it can take anything in. But one of the things it hasn't done is we haven't actually created it. So did we actually create it? We did. We did. Interesting. The plot thickens. That actually should be good to go. So what type is this? That's a hash table. That's a PS custom object. That should work. It should be able to add. Cannot call the method on a null valued expression. Interesting. Interesting. How's university going, Anthony? How's all the remote learning and that? Did they have you kicked it off? I know you're on holidays at the moment, so. Interesting. Why is it doing that? It has a new. It's of a fixed size. Sentiment results. Let's do a quick get member. It doesn't exist. It's there. That's very interesting. It's there. Let's try sentiment results. It should be able to take anything it wants. Cannot call the method on a null valued expression. Interesting. So does it mean it didn't create it? But it should have. That's the interesting thing. That's very interesting. Alright, this is where we're going to try something. It's not settable. It should have been. This is very interesting. Why is it not settable? Very, very interesting. So we declared the type here, and then we're basically saying here, when we actually creating the user object, user post.sentiment results, creating the actual object. And I'm guessing what's happening here Phoenix, gotta go to bed. Thanks for your wish and mine and PowerShell Michael for tonight. Learned a lot. Good night. No worries, mate. Have a good one, dude. So I think what's happening here, yeah, everything's been online for a while now. It's a bit of a pain in the bum, to be honest. Asking questions takes ages to do because you're asking and it's not fresh in their minds, and they have to, and it's sending a reply that's not what I meant. It's like being able to talk to a feature space and so I can hash out issues, thinking maybe deferring until this crap's all blown over. I think, yeah, this is going to be one of those hard things where asking questions is going to be a lot more difficult for students, because essentially, yeah, you've kind of, where a single conversation can be really quickly articulated, and obviously a teacher has to teach multiple students, so it's pretty difficult to have those conversations. So that'll be a very interesting concept, whether, I know that Teams you can raise your hands. They're adding hand raising soon. So one of the really good features would be to see if you, when they running their classes, if the students have the ability to chat. Now the teacher as the presenter can mute the students, so they would have to raise their hand to then be able to ask a question. So I think that might fix a lot of your issues, but I think it's just teething. Like there's a lot of teething issues with teachers trying to learn the technology, expecting the same level of interaction as what you're going to get from a one-to-one, like a one-to-one interaction, which is just not possible. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, that all aside, let's go have a look. Let's figure out why this is not playing ball. So I've got my object, I've created my class. I think I might need to create a method where I add it. That's what I'm thinking. I think I'm going to probably need to add it that way. Are we still in debug? Yes, we are. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is close that down, restart that, and let's have a bit of a play. So let's have a look. So what we're going to need to do here, I'm going to create a method. just going to create a region. The reason why I'm creating a region is so I can minimize this whole thing because I don't particularly want to look at it. That's the only reason why. So now I can do that. Cool. Alright, so what we can do is let's create a method called add result. We can just basically take an PS custom object. And then what we can do here is we can just go this dot sentiment results dot add dot result, like so. And then what we can do down here, yeah, I'm just gonna like minimize all this. Do I need that? No, I don't. What's this? No, I don't. Don't need that. Convert to rest body, we don't need that. Get indices of, we don't need. Get sentiment, we need. Get web user history, we don't need. We don't need a user class. We do need a user post class. Okay, cool. Alright, so let's simplify this a little bit and make it a bit easier. So what we need to do here is go user.posts index, user post index, dot add result. Let's try that. And let's drop our weight debugger on there. Let's go ahead and start it, and let's go ahead and test. Just trigger it. Go ahead and hit it. Let's watch. So as I was saying again, I'll just kind of repeat what I was saying a little bit earlier. So we have the PowerShell bridge bridge conference schedule being posted on Twitch TV. So the PowerShell bridge conference is it's kind of a mini PowerShell conference, just to obviously due to the fact that Summit's not being run this year. So yeah, so the entire bridge conference is now being published on the Twitch page. So we can just go have a quick look at that. It should be anyway. Doesn't look like it. Oh well. So we've got the lineup is currently they're having a serverless talk. So talking about Chris, yeah, it's Chris. Chris is doing a talk with Lambda versus functions, so just talking about the differences between the two. Thomas is, Jap is doing a talk about debugging. So send the link and I'll send it to my friends. So I'll send you this Twitter post so everyone can kind of have a bit of a look at it. He'll be talking about debugging. I really strongly recommend you guys go and have a look at that, just due to the fact that it's a very, very important skill to have. Debugging is not about control flow, as you guys can see when I'm debugging. I am testing all sorts of different things. I'm rewriting bits of code in the console, looking at variables, things like that. So this is what he's going to be teaching. Justin's going to be talking about some PowerShell 7, what's in PowerShell 7. Basically, it's going to be a Q&A session as well, so you can think about what questions you want to ask the PowerShell team complete open discussion. So essentially you can ask questions and they will respond. So a bit of a panel there. Um, um, we also have I actually can't pronounce his name. The owner of Pesta. So Pesta will be joining us. He'll be providing talking about what's in Pesta 5. Very important if you're obviously following the unit testing and integration testing space. We're going to have Paul basically talking about development lifecycle with Chocolatey, so that's going to be really cool. Stevie will be talking about CI/CD, so your DevOps pipelines, how you're going to do that. He's going to break it down in a way that is going to help that articulate that. So really cool talk there. Corey will be talking about show command. So show command, Corey's very, very switched on with. He wrote a Visual Studio show command add-on for VS Code. So that's essentially what you have with the IC. You have Thomas. Thomas will be talking about, Adam will be talking about web testing with Selenium and PowerShell. So if you're doing end-to-end testing, especially with web endpoints, things like that. So that'll be something definitely worth looking at. So also then I'll be finally wrapping it up with a talk about building an IT self-service portal within Azure Functions. So yeah, you guys can definitely join for that. So essentially it's a pretty cool talk. There's some very interesting technologies that's included into it. So if you guys are interested, join me for that. And then finally, Adelia will be wrapping it up, and that will conclude it. So it's going to be a 9-hour stream, and it'll be lots of really good stuff. Now, it will start because it's in US time, I think it's going to start at 1 a.m. in the morning and it will finish at about 10 a.m. That's Australian time. American time will vary. So I know that if you have a look at this, he will follow Thomas Rayner on Twitter. Someone did ask that question, when is it happening? What time does it start for Australia? Because Australia is ahead of the US a day. It will be starting on the Friday, the 1st of April. So if you're in Australia, it's Friday the 1st. If you're elsewhere, it's going to be the 30th. And if you're in Europe, it's going to be the 30th and the 1st. So I think, yeah, it'll be 30th and the 1st. So definitely recommend having a look at that. I'm going to be posting a Reddit post shortly after I finish my stream, but definitely worth checking out. And other things, I want to quickly talk about the PowerShell Conference Book Volume 3. So if you guys are not familiar with the PowerShell Conference Book, it is a crazy cool book. There's tons of good content. Hang on, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to actually go grab the paperback. Give me 2 secs. So I've just got the paperback. This is volume 2. So volume 2 is, we can see it's a pretty hefty book. Here's a drink bottle for comparison. So it's quite a large book. Tons of content in here, and I mean a lot of content in here. Essentially, it's designed to be a PowerShell conference in a book. I hope you guys. It's definitely a really interesting read. There's lots and lots of good content. It is essentially a textbook. It's essentially a textbook. One of the really cool things about the PowerShell conference book, or the conference books, is that it's all proceeds go to charity. All the authors don't really get anything for it. They don't get anything for it at all. So yeah. One of the really cool things about it is, so if you have a story about IT, DevOps, WinOps, open source, all those kinds of things, and PowerShell, beginning, middle, advanced, you don't have to be an accomplished author. If you want to try out being an author, it's a really good opportunity because you're only writing a chapter, you're not writing a full-on book. Call for papers for PowerShell volumes, the conference volume 3. is now out. So definitely submit your ideas. The more ideas we have, and the more that we think it's awesome, then we'll basically more likely put it in the book. I don't think we're going to put 30 chapters because the old book, the volume 2, was 30 chapters, and that's quite substantial. But it's definitely worth checking out. So I definitely think I'm going to be helping Mark out with doing senior editing. So I kind of did a fair bit of editing in the volume 2. So I've kind of put my hand up to help in volume 3. I'm also contemplating whether to actually put a chapter in, and obviously we're going to have a lot more editorial staff this year as well. So in terms of editorial staff, last year we had, I think it was about 4, and it was a lot of work. I remember waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then basically prior to actually print and reading this book and back to back, looking for any sorts of issues before going to print. Big job. It's a big job. So I think many hands definitely make light work. And Anthony, if you look there, Christian's also going to be doing some editing as well. So he's actually put his hand up for that. So yeah, if you're interested, submit a chapter. It's always interesting to talk about, and there's always interesting ideas and things like that. And they don't necessarily have to be like technical. So yeah. So that from all my terrible advertisements, let's head back into some code. Obviously now we hit our debugger, so let's go have a look at this. So first thing I need to do is just test that, make sure that's working. Yep, that's good. So let's keep cracking on. So okay, so let's just step in and see what happens here. All right, so I don't know if this is going to work, but let's see. Yeah, okay. So I thought. Okay, that works. Alrighty, sweet. Okay, all right. Let's just step this in, and then I'm going to shift F11 it. Oh, we've got a wait debugger there. All right, let's go ahead and let's stop this. So we're going to go ahead and stop the code. And let's remove our wait debugger. Return the user. All right, so we've finally gotten get sentiment. So now if we head back to our get sentiment, we've got our body. We should now be able to run and get a full JSON response back with everything about them and their sentiment. So let's do that. Let's do it. So we've got our integrated console. I'm just going to check, make sure we don't have any wait. We don't have any waits. Great. Let's give this a crack. So host start. This is either going to fail spectacularly or it's going to be amazing. I don't know which one it's going to be. I think we can basically say that it's probably going to fail. I always lean the fail side because, not because I'm a negative Nancy, but due to the fact that I haven't tested what happens on every other, I haven't really tested that function. I haven't tested that for loop properly. So I'm a little concerned that it will fail out, and it probably will fail out spectacularly. But that's okay. We're going to just smash this out and see what happens. First things first, let's see. It's obviously scraping our content, and let's see what happens. Scrape, 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 scrape. Come on. That looks like it did something. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that. Wow, okay. Let's stick that in a var and let's deconstruct it and see, like, did it join everything? It looks like it did. Looks like we just ripped out and ran sentiment analysis on a user in hot copper. That's pretty cool. Let's see how we go. You can see it takes a while. Now, I can improve this by using jobs. I can obviously write this as a durable function, all those kinds of things, because essentially, what we can do here is rip out. We can fan out each of these lookups, so that that's really where the time that it's taking to actually process this. So if we do a fan out approach with our durable function, we could reduce this down to a couple of, I want to say a couple of seconds, but we can reduce it quite significantly. And then what I might actually do is I'm actually going to publish this, make it publicly available. Anyone can query it. I don't really care if it breaks, because it breaks. And yeah, so let's have a look. So if we go .posts, oh, that is so good, eh? Oh no, didn't run sentiment on that. Didn't run sentiment on that. Didn't run sentiment on that. So where did it actually run sentiment? Let's have a look at the first one. Did it run sentiment on that? Nope. So, okay. Like I said, so we got, okay, it's finishing. Now the only thing we need to do is attach that. So that's cool. Why is it not adding? It should have added them. Alright, so next thing we need to do is figure out what the dealio is going on. So let's head back to our app, terminate it, let it close, and let's head back into our function. So one thing I want to see is get sentiment. I'm going to do a wait debugger there. I'm going to also chuck a wait debugger. I don't care about that. Don't care about that. Split, convert, get post content, get sentiment. I'm going to put a wait debugger here and here. So I want to see what's happening. Is it adding it, and then is it getting removed? Because it's an index value. It shouldn't. I shouldn't need to redeclare the array because of that. I should just be able to add it. So we're going to suss that out and see what's going on there. Let's go ahead and start it. I don't know why I need to do that. I can just do this. Go ahead and run. Okay, that's carrying, smashing through. And then the first thing we need to test is what is it doing? This is going to be the interesting part. Still going? Yep. Alright, so iterate through each of the items and join it back to the user post. Okay, so this is on the second one. So let's start stepping in. I'm just going to step out of that. Yep. Step out of that. Okay, this is what I want to see. So it adds it. Okay, so it's added the result. Let's have a look at it. Okay, it's present. Now I want to actually have a look at user.posts and have a look at 0. Okay, that has an item. That has an item. Interesting. So that's working there. And then I'm returning user. So what does user have? You know what the problem is? Probably, like, I've just had a quick thought. It's probably because it's the depth. So if we go user.posts, 0. Okay, it has content there. It is a nested object, so that could potentially be the reason why. It has a depth limitation to it, which would explain it. So let's continue on. Alright, let's just quickly can this. Okay, so we know that it's updating the properties. That is for sure. I'm actually going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. So what I want to have a look at now is what's being returned here. So it should be complete. That should be completely fine. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and restart this. So kick that off, re-trigger that. That's going to trigger this. Hit OK, I hit continue. And let's hang around and see what happens. So it's invoking. It's taking its sweet time this time. Next thing you know, I've been blocked on their firewall. If I can get this done today, I might deploy it and then make it publicly available for everyone to play with. So that'll be a bit of fun for everyone. I'm not going to just build a CI process into it. And like, yeah, it's free sentiment analysis, so you guys can go bananas and run it against whatever you want. I don't really care. Okay, so it's now hit the debugger. I found that was very interesting that it didn't actually log out any content. So that's a little concerning. Okay, so there's some body. So it has some posts. Let's have a look at some posts. S0. Okay, sentiment results. What I suspect is happening here is a JSON limitation. So what it's probably doing, convert to JSON. JSON has a default depth limit of 3. Anything over 3, it will cut off. So the issue lies not with the object itself, but with its the JSON. So I actually have to manually convert this to JSON. Convert to JSON and give it a depth of 5. Let's just go the extra mile there and give it a nice depth. Like so. And that should fix our issues. We're going to restart PowerShell. I'm not going to start it as a debugger. We're just going to run it in runs a little faster. All right. It's quite slow. That's one of the frustrating things. It's quite slow. There we go. It's responded. Let's have a look at var. It looks like there's something there now. There we go. So you can see there the sentences is now being cut off, so we can just increase that. Actually, I'm just going to give it a depth of 7. So it's a very intense JSON. PSH. And I'm going to save that, and hopefully, yep, it's reloaded. Cool. All right, let's actually trigger this inside a console, inside a browser. Just drag it into this tab here. So you can see it's having a real hard think. You can see it's running in the background there. Now the question is, should I post this on their site and say, hey, I can scrape your data and run sentiment analysis across it? Oh, maybe not. All right, it's having a hard think now. It's done its thing. And here we go. So you can see our posts. Trump's press conference for today. I don't really care about it. You can see the message body. The progressive left. Okay, whatever. I don't really care. Lots of politics. It's always fun. You can see our sentiment. That's actually quite hilarious because that's actually sarcasm, which we can detect, but for some reason sentiment analysis didn't detect sarcasm. Probably due to the fact that it's performing literal matching. That's going to be something hard to actually detect. Honestly, I think this is just political crap. And I'm not interested in it. So yeah, all that kind of stuff. You can then run sentiment across it. Obviously, we have some content here. And there we go. Look at that. That's a winner. Cool. Let's deploy it. Let's make it publicly available. So let's go ahead and stop it. Shut it down. Hopefully it's not going to... And see how we go. So we're going to go ahead and deploy this. I am going to create a resource group in my Azure portal before we deploy this. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on quickly get cracking, and I'm going to actually post this. Make sure that prispug open repo. Hot copper user sentiment. Appears to be a private repo. It's not! It's not a private repo! I think I made it public again. Let's go to GitHub. Might need to make this repo public, and then I'll just key pass. Go to GitHub. While doing that, I might create a resource group because I'm going to need that. Let's go to... Actually, we'll just chuck it on the streaming resource group. If worst comes to worst and it gets misused, I'll check the usage after a day. I'll just bin it. Or I'll just stick it behind API management. So let's go ahead and create a function app. Actually, no, we can just deploy it this way. We can deploy it this way. Okay, so we've got our project. Let's actually go and deploy it. Create function, deploy function app, Visual Studio Enterprise. Select a function app, create a new function app in Azure. Let's go advanced. And let's just call this hot copper user sentiment beta. That's it's an alpha, let's be honest, it's an alpha. Sentiment, is that how you spell sentiment? Who knows? Who knows? It is, good. It's gonna run PowerShell Core 6. It's gonna go consumption. Gonna go streaming. I'm going to create a new storage account. Go ahead and do that for me, please. Go ahead and do that. While we're doing that, I'm going to go to GitHub. And I need my phone. Alright, let's go have a look at that. I need to go to hot copper. Jeez, I need to unsubscribe. I've got so many repos. Oh my gosh. Hot copper. No, you can go public, mate. There's nothing in it, so you can go public. Make public. Alright, so that's done. Now I can probably commit it, hopefully. Open repo. Hot copy user. Start up. Yeah, just start my pro trial. I'm not really. Hot copy user sentiment. Okay, I'm just gonna reclone it. I need to bin it and then recreate it because it's not playing ball. Hot copy user sentiment. Oh shit, I can't because I'm so. Oh, that would have been bad. I would have just deleted my entire work, and that would not have been fun. Okay, that's up. Cool. Sweet. We'll get that and test it in a sec. What we need to do is I need to publish this code, so I'm just going to close that for a sec. I'm going to rename this. Try again, try again, try again. Okay, cool. Now I can open up Gitkraken. Go ahead and try clone this thing. Clone a repo. dgit URL. Go GitHub. Search remotes. Hot copper user sentiment. Clone. Okay, open it. Now I can actually put my stuff back in there. Replace. Continue. You need permission. Oh, just do it, god damn it. You need permission to perform the action. Why do I need permission? Oh, because it's Git. I don't really care. That's fine. Let's just go get cracking and let's go and publish it. Stage all my changes. Initial commit. Commit. Push. Let's go to GitHub. Let's do a pull. There's no GitHub action, so I can just merge it. Confirm. And there it is. All there. Cool. All right. Cool. All right. So what we can do now is that's done. Let's jump into Azure. Let's see what is there. Cool. All right. Let's have a look and see if this works. This should be completely... Okay, yep, function app's up and running. Let's just go get sentiment. Alright, let's see if that decides to play ball. And while we're doing that, I'm going to put some limits on this thing. I'm just going to put some scale out limits. Okay, it's on consumption, that's fine. Okay, I'm just going to set a quota. I don't think that ran, did it? Doesn't look like it's running. I don't think it ran. Alright, let's connect to our logs and see what's happening. So let's go ahead and open up VS Code. I'll copy user sentiment. Let's actually go have a look at the function app. Just go ahead and start it. And let's go and stream some logs. Just hit it. That was a little too easy. Probably because it might have a specific key. What type of function? Is it an anonymous? Let's have a look. It's anonymous. That should be fine. Let's have a look in portal. Let's have a look in the portal. Okay, it's right here. We can just drag this over here. Yep, it's in read only. That's fine. URL. Ah, it also helps if I actually know the endpoint, doesn't it? Now that should trigger missing username. Perfect. Alright, so let's go and actually trigger it with a username. And let's see what happens. So it looks like it's running. Oop, we got a error. We got a big one. We got a really big error. It looks like a date time error. That looks like a date time error. Okay, so it looks like it's having issues running date time, like converting date time. That's fine. I will need to troubleshoot that. I just want to see if it works, and it's initially dealing with it. So it doesn't look like it's yet still loading. While waiting on that, let's have a look at the logs. So it's having a lot of issues converting dates. Cannot convert value 27th of 3rd 20 to type date time. Error string. Does not recognize as a valid date time. So there's a fair bit of stuff we need to sort out with dates. That's a PowerShell 6 thing, I think. Oh, yeah, again, not a valid date time. Get date. Lots of errors. Lots of errors. So yeah, it looks like we've got some bad errors here. System.object does not contain a method named addResult. Okay. Method invocation failed because system.object does not contain a method named addResult. Interesting. So I don't expect a result back. It'd be interesting if we did get something back, but yeah, oh, we did get stuff back. So there is, so there are errors with it, and you can still see there that it's working though. So it's still a lot of work needs to be done to fix it, but it's an alpha, so it's very, very alpha, which is, yeah. So now, can I actually just get one of you guys to run that? I'll just quickly post that in chat and see if one of you guys are happy to run that in your browser. And I just want to see it trigger. Also need to put some limits on the actual number of times the function app can be run. Determine consumption. So is that running? Is someone running it? Oh, we're disconnected. I'm gonna need to reconnect. Damn it. Let's just reconnect to our functions. Restream, start streaming. While waiting on that, I'm just gonna look for some Okay, cool. Is someone actually running that URL? Doesn't look like it. I'm just trying to. Doesn't look like it's running. Or it might be, but who knows? Let me just re-trigger it. Web app stopped. Why did it stop? Did it crash? If your web app is please go to Plumber 403. Why did you crash? Something's not right. It stopped. I didn't stop it. Start. Oh, it's disabled. Okay, must have been a little bit aggressive with my limits. I've got rate limits set up on it, so I think it's having a go about that. It's currently disabled. So let's remove the quota and let's just increase the quota. Let's give it a 10. Alright, see if that works. Start. Yes, okay. If you give it a go, if you're trying to remotely, I just want to see if this works. So that looks like it's running and we're getting a log. How are we going? Just gotta jump back into Twitter, to my chat. Alright. Looks like it's having issues. There's the problem with log streaming, is it just kinda bums out sometimes. It's definitely working. There we go. Now we're actually connected. Alright, we're actually smashing it out. Cool. So while we're doing that, let's actually grab a separate user. Let's jump on Hot Copper. You. And let's go grab a completely separate random user. DHM. HM. I'm going to hit. I'm going to hit that. And then let's go jhunt as well. So right now, it's a very busy little function. That's stopped. Either a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's probably because it's... Okay, that's responded. Great. I think it's hitting limits, and that's why. Basically, I've got, like, limits in place. So what I'm probably going to do is see how this quota goes. I just want to see if I can actually still trigger it. Okay, so it can still trigger. It's warm, alright. There's another guy actually who used to... Was he? What was his name? Shovel 40. So it should be scaling up. Oh, they got bought out. There you go. Alright, so all mates responded. We've got some content there. We can see some sentiment. Now the message body, obviously, date posted. There's going to be issues with that. That's fine. we can see our sentiments, which is actually really quite cool. So we can go down here, have a look at his posts. Interestingly, no sentiment. That's interesting. So there is still bugs with the code there. You can see no sentiment there. So it looks like the sentiment kind of breaks all down there. So there's okay, broke there. This is very interesting. So there looks like there's still bugs with the code, but that's fine. It is obviously crazy alpha, so that's completely broken. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So there's obviously a fair bit of work that needs to be done to fix this, but that's okay. I'm going to leave it there for today probably. Let's see what our logs are doing. Yeah, that's going to be our biggest issue. We need to fix the date time problems. And then we've got some other bits and pieces with adding objects and things like that. So I think for the time being it's okay. So yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I think we're going to leave it there. I think that's a fairly productive day. We actually got it implemented, running, and deployed. Yeah, does anyone have any questions about it? I'm just going to quickly put I'm just going to put a quota back on it so we can not worry about getting wrecked with costs, and I'll check it tomorrow. Alrighty, cool. What we're going to do is I think we're going to leave it there for today. Obviously links up, you guys can play with it, have fun. Obviously if you're not interested in it, that's perfectly fine. Still is an interesting expedition. Code's up as well, so if you want to have a look at that, I've just submitted the code. Let me just quickly if you guys want to try your own sentiment analysis, where did I put it? Where's my GitHub? Okay, yeah, so you can see here, J Hunt. Okay, so he's got a lot of, you can see here, it's actually quite a nice layout. So, if you want to have a look at it, this is it here, so you can just quickly, it's publicly available, no issues there. Go ahead, go bananas if you want to have a look at the code. If you want to have a play with it, that's oh, it stopped. Probably because it's hit a quota limit. That is it there. I am going to just put an additional quota on it. I might just expand it a little bit more so everyone can kind of have a bit of fun with it. And then we will leave it there for today. Yeah, good day today. Very good day today. So have a bit of a play with that. Yeah, we'll see how you go. Lots of changes that need to be made. Obviously, it's super duper alpha. So yeah, but at the same time, though, still pretty cool. Anyway, guys, let's leave it there for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really cool day. Got stuff done. Yep, you too, Anthony. Have a good day and stay safe. Make sure you wash your hands. Yeah, and we'll see you guys next time. But I should be streaming next Tuesday. I've been off on the I'm kind of been off from streaming a little bit, just trying to take a bit of a break. I've also got lots of other things on the go at the moment. So yeah, if you're interested, yeah, so I might be streaming next Tuesday. I might not be. It also depends with work. Like around that time in the afternoon, it's fairly busy for me. So yeah, we'll probably be back next Saturday. Obviously I want to clean this code up, make it a little bit more stable, and then yeah, we'll go from there. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.